Like 500%, turntable episode 5. This month we got Mr. Moses' review. We're gonna be baptized. Then Spence and advice. We're gonna put on a great show with the albums they have picked. And then Andrew and me, and don't forget we're still producing, and he runs the fucking show. Oh, well, they say you don't call up for hangouts. You don't spit into the mic. You don't go respond to us work emails, and you don't mess around with Jim. I need to do what I need.
What up, guys? Thank you, Brooklyn, for recording that ahead of time because I look like a big dumb idiot whenever you're not here. Welcome back to episode number 5 of the Turntable. We have a really good collection of albums for you today. I think there's going to be a lot of really interesting discussion. And let's bring in our first guest. That's Adelaide Spence. Hey, Adelaide. How you doing? What did you bring?
I brought SAWAYAMA by Rina Sawayama. Maybe a modern pop masterpiece. Best album of the week. And I'm ready to throw hands. Month. The hell of the month.
We'll discuss. We also have one Amaru Moses. Amaru, how you doing? What did you bring for us today?
I'm doing well. A little tired. Long week. I got one more week of school left with these damn kids, and it couldn't come fast enough. I brought basically a soundtrack to my high school cross-country meets. I think one of the most well put together albums I've ever heard. Commons B.
All right. And we have Jake Marangoni. Jake, good to see you as always.
Likewise.
How are you doing today, and what did you bring, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's long weekend here in WA because Monday is WA Day, so that means I get Monday off from work. So I'm just chilling for this next 3 days of just, doing whatever the hell I want, which is great.
And what did you bring for us today?
I brought my favorite Madonna album, which is her 98 album, Ray of Light.
All right. Unfortunately, as I said before, Brooklyn could not be here today. Unfortunately, there was just schedule things that got in the way. But Brooklyn brought CrazySexyCool by TLC. I believe that one being the oldest album of the bunch that we are talking today. And I brought Real by Lydia Loveless. Lesser known alternative country singer-songwriter.
Alternative.
You know what? I like that.
Nice.
Alternative.
Nice.
I've stolen that. I'm not original. I'm not that smart.
Oh, boo. All right. So how this is going to work is we are all going to be discussing open, freeform discussion about each of these albums one at a time. After the discussions, we will be giving a score and a least and favorite song from said album. And we're actually going to starting with Brooklyn's album, CrazySexyCool by TLC. Brooklyn left us a little video to discuss why he brought this to the table today. So let's see what he has to say.
Hello, everyone. Fortunately, I wasn't able to make the show this week, just with the busy season at work popping up. So I still want to talk about this album, CrazySexyCool from TLC. The reason that I wanted to talk about it is Waterfalls had come off of this album, and whenever Waterfalls was on the 500 Stones list, it talked about how great this record is, and that's kind of recommending it. And then eventually it kind of led to the creation of the show and a bunch of other ones. So it kind of garnered a lot of influence for what the show was to become. What I really like about this album is how it interplays these interludes and intermissions to previous songs, and it kind of sets up the vibe or the atmosphere that song is kind of going for. There's some really good examples of it too. The opening interlude is a great setup to Creep and just kind of how it matches the beat and everything. Creep itself went up a lot on re-listen for me, just because of all the little details, especially near the end. In particular, like I would have loved to have heard when the song came out originally, like in the kind of the dance club era, because I would love to see if people were singing along to that call and answer aspect, like the because I need attention, don't mess around with my affection part. It's like a subtle way to kind of put in a groove and like a pretty slow kind of jivey song. Then you got some really good sharp ones as well. Case of the Fake People has some really good lines. I like the line that you better think twice before you let people in your life. Then you have Red Light Special, and in particular how Interlude kind of plays off of that. Interlude is like this like great little palate cleanser, and then Red Light Special kind of introduces stuff that comes in later in the record, like especially with the guitar and whatnot. I also love how they use like the I know just what I want, I know just who I am, and then that solo kicks in near the end, and that's a great little payoff. Then you have like Sexy Interlude, which kind of like plays into the trope that they have been already setting up, but then they turn it into like a skit or a prank at the end, and I really kind of appreciate that. It kind of catches you off guard in it. Then you have some really good cameos in this. Jermaine Dupri is in it for a little bit. Busta Rhymes is on like the Can I Get a Witness interlude, and I think his style just meshes really well with the sound that they were going for. Like it's a little bit silly and kind of tongue in cheek, and I think that it works really well. But then I got to talk about the last song, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Spoiler alert, this is my favorite song on the record. It's a nice culmination of kind of everything that they had been setting up. Andre 3000 has an incredible opening verse, and just kind of his delivery is always impressive, and he's always trying to add something new. But then you get that opening line from TLC, and I think it really grabs you, especially when it's just like, take a good look in the mirror and tell me, do you like what you see? Like, I like that kind of like self-reflectiveness of it. It also has my favorite Left Eye performance. I especially like the line of like, ain't no accidental death traps. My mishap is the fact that I'm destined to snap. And just how that song kind of like fades out. I think it's a really good job. But I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks about it. But in particular, I'm curious as to how people feel about the interludes and the intermissions and kind of how they set up, and like, are they as effective as they kind of want to be? But thanks, everybody.
All right. So fucking Adelaide.
My cat is being a fucking asshole right now. He's trying to eat everything.
It's a
Every piece
cat.
of goddamn furniture.
Yeah, it's a cat.
This would be a fucking mouse. I don't know.
Real quick question: has anyone listened to this album before? Okay.
Yes.
So Rule, I want to get your opinions on this one first. What are your overall thoughts on the album?
So this is a staple of my life. I was around when this was out. Creep was fucking huge. Waterfalls was huge. And funnily enough, my mom, she was a 4'11" Argentine woman, and anytime we went on a road trip, 2 albums got played at least around the time this came out. It was Enya, because for some reason my dad, a 5'10" black dude, loved listening to Enya on road trips, and my mom loved listening to Crazy Sexy Cool. After Crazy Sexy Cool, it was Velvet Rope by Janet Jackson, where we did road trips, but I specifically remember this. However, it has been a really, really, really long time since I've listened to it. So I will say this: this album is great, but it did not age as well as I thought it would, honestly. There were like, I remember certain songs and be like, oh, yep, I remember hearing this in the car. And the one thing I will say, it is a product of the 90s, like a product of, I'm not going to call it, it's not simpler production. It's just that the thing that it reminded me of Sonic the Hedgehog production. Like, it just, the weird synthesized, not weird, but like synthesized jazz-ish kind of.
Okay.
Just, for some reason, that's what clicked in my head. And it's not bad, but it wasn't hidden for me as much as like the songs that do hit for me. So like Creep, Waterfalls, Red Light Special, take our time. Let's do it again. Something wicked this way comes. But in between those, like it would kind of go back to more synthesized production, and like I like it. It's really good, but it wasn't. Again, I didn't like it as much as I remember like when I was a kid. The interludes do work. Elephant in the room. There's one other guy on those interludes that is not pretty hot in the streets right now. He was there because he's all up and down Black music everywhere. So yeah, he's there. A little unfortunately, but hey, whatever. But again, this was like for some reason I remember it being like the highest selling album of like that year or all time or up there at that when it was released or something like that. It was wild and crazy. And what's wild and crazier is that they made no money off of this, which is fucking crazy. But no, they got screwed on that record deal.
Oh, Adelaide, if you don't know about this story,
there's a whole movie.
I'm a child.
Yeah,
same.
So, but back to the music wise, I love how distinct T-Boz and Chili's voices are to anybody, like any singer. Period. In R&B, like you hear T-Boz, you know it's TLC, and then Left Eye comes in, and again, you're like, there's no group like TLC unless it's a spinoff of TLC, like Black. Left Eye started this R&B group. I believe their name was Black, and they all kind of sound like her, but that's because they grew up around her. So I love this album. It's really great. I just was surprised how much like. At times, I was like, I'm not feeling this as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you that some of the production of it is of its time. I was listening to it, and I like halfway through, I was like, "There's no mistaking what decade that this was made in," and that's not a bad thing because I really like a lot of the production on this album. I think that this album is great. I think that it's kind of weird because it's like a steady flow of like how good it is throughout, and then it kind of like dips off a little bit towards the middle, but then it kind of like picks right back up. That one interlude though, Sexy interlude, I hated that. I hated that so much. It was the one interlude that I was like, this does not work. It completely takes me out of the entire album.
That's the one where she's on the shitter, right?
That's the one where she's on the shitter.
Okay.
Yeah. Case of the Fake People is probably one of the most like honest songs I've heard in a long time, especially considering what they revealed after their next album, where they were basically broke. Because that was one of the worst record deals of all time. And so, like, hearing that song, this was my first time listening to this album all the way through. So hearing that song pop up, I was like, oh, this is real. Okay. I've brought this up on like 500 Stones before. I like Waterfalls. I think Waterfalls is good.
You're on the right side of history.
But I don't love it as much as other people do. I respect it. It's very good. But like for some reason, that one's just never hit me the same way.
I don't know why. I don't. It's one of these. Again, it's one of the songs. I don't listen to Waterfalls a lot. I actually haven't listened to TLC in a while. And again, the ones I suspect, the singles that came out, I heard them and I was like, yeah, they're just as amazing as they were before. Mm-hmm. It just was. So I don't know what you're talking about, but hey.
I don't know. And unfortunately, I think I know what it is. And I forgot to write it down. Who's lead on that song?
T-Boz. T-Boz is usually lead on most songs. It is definitely T-Boz.
I think T-Boz is a good singer. But for some reason, T-Boz is kind of like a 50-50 for me, whether she hits for me or not.
She has a really unique voice. Like I said, you know immediately it's her when she starts singing. It's I don't know. It has this
vocal fry kind of.
Yeah, and it's a little deep, but not like too deep. It's just it's her. So I can see that. I can hear it. Yeah.
I think it's what makes the song so good is her vocals, in my opinion. Like, I think that's why it's so big. It's a great song. I'm listening to it right now. I just think it's just, when I hear the song, or when I think about it, like, the vocals is what really stands out to me. I think that's like why, spoiler alert, Waterfalls is my favorite song of the album, and why it's just like, iconic. I think that part of it is her vocals.
And that's fair. And I think Waterfalls is probably the best produced song on the album because like their voices are so in front of the rest of the mix, but everything is still so crisp and clear. So I think it's just one of those things where like as I've said, 50-50, sometimes her voice works for me. I don't think that it's bad in any regard.
It's just like fine versus great. Like those are the two polars for you.
For me, yeah. But Left Eye, on the other hand, God, I love Left Eye. Like her flow and like her voice, just in general, it's kind of almost has like that squeaky kind of quality to it. But she uses it so effectively, especially on the closing. Something Wicked This Way Comes. So I think that this is a really great album. That's most I got on it. Everyone else, Adelaide, Jake.
Something stood out to me. Derogatory. I understand that like the interludes are like cool and they add some like something new to the album, but there's too fucking many. There's 3 interludes and the intro-lude, whatever the fuck that is. I just feel like I'm getting commercials. Like that's not. I don't think it's adding to the album. Like okay, yeah, her fake moaning until dropping a fat shit is like funny,
hilarious.
But like that's like Vine, dude. Like
Bar. How old are we? Because they do not realize that interludes were a thing.
They were
like I was saying they're like almost non-existent today. At least every now
if
and
there is
then,
one in an album, I'll respect it. I understand it. I don't fucking need 3.5.
You don't.
Like I'm
sick
of
that
it.
was like a minimum in the 90s. A minimum interludes, dude.
It kind of was.
Isn't it De La Soul? I can't remember which album it is.
Oh, 3 Feet High and Rising
has like incredible interludes.
The Score by the Fugees. It's not an interlude, but it had the little things at the end of a bunch of songs, and they're so hilarious.
Interludes
we're old.
can be used effectively. I think this album uses them somewhat well. Yeah, like Crazy Sexy Cool, not the best interlude. I do like the sound of that one. I'm trying to think of what my favorite interlude is, though. I think Can I Get a Witness interlude? I kind of like the sound of that.
I do think Sexy is the best one. Like I think it has the most, like it brings the most, even though it's not like musically, it's just sort of like a fun, like it shows character, it shows who's behind the album. I think everything else is sort of like, vibes, I guess. I think Sexy is one where it's like, okay,
there's nothing wrong with just vibes.
I'm going to make sure that I hold on to that word that you just used and stash it away for later, just in case.
Vibes?
Just in case.
I don't know where you live. I know your state. I'll bomb the whole thing. I don't give a fuck.
That's okay. Most people want to bomb Florida anyway.
Jake, I'm with you on Can I Get a Witness. You put Busta Rhymes on anything and let him speak. It's just energy personified.
That's the one that's just good vibes on that. I love it. And his focus as well. He's great. It's a good one.
Overall, I don't love the album. I think part of it's just like it's before my time. It's not my genre. I think they're all very talented. The one song besides Waterfalls that I think stands out the most to me is Kick Your Game. I think that has like a really great beat, and that chorus is fucking perfect. Like it is the song that I will probably actually revisit from the album. I think it's like a very easy listen. It's fun. It's like it feels like summer vibesy, you know? Like it feels very nice and good.
Okay. Any last thoughts on Crazy Sexy Cool before we move on?
As much as I've mentioned this before, their distinct voices, it's always weird. I actually am only ever talking about Left Eye and T-Boz. I love Chili, but I can never know when it's her singing. That's the one thing. Like I could not tell you Chili's voice out of a lineup, and I can immediately hear T-Boz, and I can immediately hear Left Eye, and I don't know if it was because she's too similar, like to both at the same time. I don't know. I
She
just
sounds
always
like the
found that
perfect
weird.
blend of the two. It's
Yeah,
like two
it
different
was
voices.
always weird to me. I was like, wait, did Chili actually sing on the song? It's like, except for No Scrubs, I don't know when she's singing, and it's weird.
One last thing I do want to bring up is that I really respect the hell out of the fact that if you look on Spotify, the only people credited are TLC.
Mhm.
Like
I
none of the
noticed
men are, and I honestly respect. Fair. All right, so Brooklyn left me his score for this. Brooklyn says 8.5 out of 10. Best listened through from top to bottom. The interludes are great feeders into their respective songs, but feel more like extensions than they do their own tracks. As he spilled, his favorite song is Something Wicked This Way Comes, specifically quoting the line from Andre, take a good look in the mirror and tell me, do you like what you see? I just don't understand the ways of the world today. And his favorite Left Eye performance on the record. His least favorite is Intermission Lude. He goes, too many of these now, I think. Feels the most filler of the bunch.
Thank you. Thank you.
I figured Adelaide would like that.
It should be more like musical theater. One intermission, that's it.
For me, it's a solid 8. Solid 8 out of 10. Definitely a lot of highlights in this that I will be going back to. My favorite song on the album is actually Digging on You. There was something really nice about the synth tone in that one, and it was kind of like, it was sexy and it was cool. There was not much crazy in that song, but it was sexy and it was cool. So, like, yeah. And my least favorite song is Take Our Time. That one was just a little too loose compared to some of the other songs that were kind of tight in the production and the vocals and the melody. That one just kind of felt like a little out of place. Wasn't bad, just kind of out of place. Let us go to Adelaide next.
I'd give it a 7.4. I don't think it's not really for me, but I can respect. I think it's produced very well. All the performers on it are very talented. The interludes gotta like cut them down. That's just style of the time. I do think it's a very good album. It's not something that I'm gonna like hook myself to very often.
Favorite and least favorite song?
Favorite song is gonna be Waterfalls. Least favorite, can I say an interlude? So I'll just say crazy, or no, I'll say intermission lude.
Okay.
Intermission lude, because again, fuck, they need to cut that shit.
Man, I can't wait for you to listen to other like hip hop albums from like the 2000s where there was.
Have me debate Rue again, then I
will. Speaking of Rue, let's go to Rue next.
I'm also giving this a solid 8. Again, I was a tad bit disappointed that it didn't carry over from my youth and how much I love this album, but it's still extremely good. It was really nice getting back to it. My least favorite song is Kick Your Game, because it's what reminded me of how, like, it sounds like so many other one-hit wonders, R&B hip-hop songs of the 90s, with a very simple chorus, a simple beat, really synth heavy. It's not, I don't think it's as well produced as the rest of the album. And like, you could easily put any other, I'm not gonna say any other one hit wonder Motown swing groups of that era, put them on it, and it's the same. It's like no better, it's no worse. So it's not bad, but it's very bland when it comes to 90s R&B. What's not bland and what sticks out and what reminds me of dudes grasping the air, which people don't do anymore when they're in love because they want it, is fucking Red Light Special. That is a fucking banger. That will get pennies dropped, lights down, and shit is going down immediately. Like, I was hot, just like, and I remember the video. Like one, I remember the Creep video and the silk.
Yeah, that's probably the most
silk,
famous of the videos from the.
They took the silk, turned down the lights, and put it in some sexiness. And but just the song in general, the best sung, the best produced, damn sexy, makes you feel like Marvin Gaye could have made that song. Absolutely love it. But I really enjoyed this album. I really enjoyed going back to it.
And Jake.
I think I'm gonna go 7.8 out of 10. It's closer to an 8 than 7. I like 90s. That sort of aesthetic is what we were sort of talking about. And yeah, I think it uses most 90% of the interludes quite well. And I would say my favorite song is Waterfalls, basic pick, but that's the big one from the album outside of Creep, which is also a great song. But a sexy interlude can go fuck itself. I don't like that shit, literally.
All right, cool. I'm so glad that someone else is on my side about this one. All right, well, Jake, it is your turn. Tell us about Ray of Light.
So, Ray of Light, that is Madonna's album from 98. I'm a big Madonna fan. I don't know if it's just like, I don't know why, just I've really, in the last, 5 or 6 years, really enjoyed her music and sort of like discovered some lesser known albums from her. But I think Ray of Light is just a defining album of the late 90s as we were sort of evolving the sound and we were sort of transitioning into sort of the digital music and just the sound of it and the way that she sort of reinvigorates and changes throughout each album. And this is also a time when she had just given birth to her first child. She had just did Evita, and she started getting into this I think it's Shambhala, the Jewish religion. So she's sort of getting into more of a spiritual sort of aesthetic for this one. And it's just, I find it to be just such a beautiful, beautiful album and one of those pop albums that I really enjoy and doesn't get old and stale. Because I feel like with certain albums over the years, especially pre, 2010, they really feel like they come from that era. And even though I do sort of feel that with Ray of Light, feeling like it comes from the late 90s, there's just something about it that just makes me sort of nostalgic for an era that I wasn't really a part of. Like this came out the year I was born. So I've got no sort of, conscious about it at the time, but it's just something about it just really I connect with. And whether it's something that's slow, like its opening track, Drown World / Substitute for Love, and then just sort of on the contrast of that being the titular album song, Ray of Light, which is just like the most poppy electronic dance song that you can think of. There's a lot of really cool things she really does that she's trying to push. And especially, this is an era of late 90s artists like Alanis and Britney Spears and Shania Twain and so many different new artists coming out. She's reinvigorating herself in a new sound, which I think this is one of her best by far.
I'm going to start. This album is too damn long. This album is too damn long. When the shortest song on your album is 4 minutes, 23 seconds, the average being about 5 minutes, 30 seconds, it is too damn long. Look, I get it. There's a lot of trance, trip hop instrumentals, and usually that stuff is kind of long. There's a reason it's referred to as trance. But some of the songs on this album are really good. Then there are other songs where either the production is bad, straight up bad, or Madonna's lyricism is painful to listen to. There are some songs on this album where I am like, girl, I can write a better song, lyrically speaking, than this.
I am walking on a cloud of rainbows and going to enter the soul of my electric light as it shines through the holes of my ethereal body. I couldn't. I'm so sorry.
I'm so happy. I'm not alone.
I could not do it. I could not do it. I'll give you this. It started off and I was like, okay, mostly because between I know Ray of Light, and I was like, okay, I know what Ray of Light is. With Swim and Candy Perfume Girl, I was like, am I listening to David Holmes' score from Oceans? Because I love David Holmes' score from Oceans. And this sounds like this, and I can deal with this. And I'm like, you know what? I hope it keeps going because I love that score. And then I felt like I was in Erykah Badu's house with some incense and crystals, and just I was like, this is not for me at all. And I just was like, this is what Madonna did at that point. Whoo! I was there. I was literally walking my dog, making up those lyrics what I was gonna say today, trying to figure it out. And I was like, I don't even got to do it. I can kind of freestyle it. So yeah, some of that was kind of bad. I'm sorry.
Like there are some moments that are like really good. Like Ray of Light, I think is a really fun pop song. Sky Fits Heaven, I think is really good. Frozen, I think is actually that's a really good one. Like the really chilly atmosphere really helps with that. The production, when the production is on, the songs hit. And Madonna can, like, you can tell the songs where Madonna became like the head songwriter. But every once in a while, it really works. Like The Power of Goodbye is kind of cheesy, but it's cheesy in a really good way. The two artists that I thought of instantly when I was listening to this album were Alanis Morissette and Enya. Like, I thought it felt
just named two of my favorite artists ever.
So this helps.
I was like, if this was Enya, I'd love it. But this is not Enya. Not Enya. I will say, again, it started cool, and then it hit that middle ground of like, no. And then it ended a lot stronger until Mergirl. And then I honestly, like, I saw it was 6 minutes. I was like, okay, what is this? And then I was at a minute and a half. And then I saw it was 6 minutes. I stopped it. I was like, I'm done. Not finishing the song. I don't need to listen to any more of this. But before, there was a good 3-song run from The Power of Goodbye to Have and Not Hold and Little Stars. Like, okay, cool. This is better. I can listen to this. I'm liking this a little bit better. But that middle section, that was a little tough for me to get there.
So have y'all pulled all-nighters in college? Where
I never did.
You're at a certain point, like 4 or 5 a.m., you're like, okay, I'm so close. Let me just wait until I can order food, then I'll be okay. That's what the back half of this album was. I was in a dream state. I did not know if I was awake or I was asleep. I was fucking fighting through. And when the first half of the album is like a mid-tier DDR song for the most of it, I felt fucking lost. This is not a good album. Ray of Light is good, but I'm not going to heap the praise that these two are. I don't think I found any enjoyment in the rest of it. It's like what I imagine it's like when you do like a little bit of heroin, like not a lot, but enough to get like a little high. You're just like, okay, yeah, I can just zone out for a bit.
Oh,
it's a downer, like a downer, like not a downer, but like a downer drug. Like I don't know what else. Is opium a downer? I don't know.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think anyone on this call can help you figure that out. We also cannot tell you where to get any, because it sounds like you're looking
for legal reasons. I have not taken cocaine. I have to get that out of the way now.
It's not even a downer. What are we talking about?
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
But Adelaide, to that point, so I listened to this album twice.
Oh, how was it?
I try to listen to all of the albums twice whenever I do this show. It doesn't always happen, but I try to do my due diligence. And the first half of the album, the first time I listened to it, I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing here? What is happening? And then halfway through the first listen, I'm like, okay, this is like trip hop. This is trance music. So like on second listen, it gets a little bit better when you kind of know that ahead of time. Because when you know only Ray of Light before you listen to anything else on this album, it is feels kind of like a pivot. But yeah, it's still, once again, when your shortest song is 4 minutes and 23 seconds, and the average is about 5 minutes and 30. Cut some of the songs. Just cut some of the songs, make it a 50-minute album, and we'll be fine. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I really like the way... I kind of agree with most of what everyone's saying, except for all the bad stuff. No, I really do. I do agree that it opens better than it ends. It's better when it opens than when it ends, because I do think the first 3-4 songs are like the best songs from the album outside of Frozen, and just the way that it opens. I don't know. I'm just into that way that I think Drowned World / Substitute for Love is just great as showing like what sort of sound you're expecting from this album. Not all of it is going to be as, I don't know, spiritual, I would say, as the opening song, but it does have that transition into Swim, which I think Swim's a really good song, but then it really does hit when it goes to Ray of Light, which we've sort of mentioned is like, that's the big single from the album outside of Frozen. It's just one of those songs that just anytime I'll hear it at work, or if I'm I'm out in the club sipping that bub, you're not going to reach my telephone. I'm just like down with the song. I'm sorry, people. I had to. But
I respect you, but I hate you.
Thank you. But I think there's a couple like underrated ones. Like I really like Shanty / Ashtangi.
No, you don't. No,
That's true. I like the sound of that one.
No, you don't.
I'm not gonna understand I know what she's talking about on the song, but I like the vibes of that one.
I don't know. That one feels like Madonna being like, "I'm so much better than you. I'm gonna sing this song like with this language," and I'm just like, "Girl, get over yourself." I'm sorry. I do want to bring up some real quick things that Brooklyn left notes on for the opening Drowned World Substitute for Love. Don't listen to the song with headphones. The root note that holds through the whole song is more prominent, and it reminds me of bagpipes. Like, yeah, that's one of those moments where I think the production did not help, because he's right. That note was like a drill. It was like a drill, and I hated it. Ray of Light. This is the one that Brooklyn got me with this one. He says, Ray of Light. This song was dead before it came up. All I can imagine is Peter Griffin singing the chorus. And that's Brooklyn.
Does that happen on Family Guy, or is he just more talking about the vocals of the song?
I don't know. I'm assuming he sings.
I'm pulling it up right now to be sure.
Because I would actually like to watch that. That sounds really fun.
It does. All right. So, all right. Let's wrap this one up. Any last thoughts, real quick, before we put a bow on this?
I'd shout out Candy Puff and Go. I think that's super underrated. I like the sound of that one. Just the fact that it's the darkest song of the album. I don't know how to describe it, but it's the most just like I don't know how to describe it. It's got its own sound to it compared to the rest of the album. Oh, I think that one's interesting. In my opinion.
Interesting. Jake. Okay, so it does exist. We'll watch it after. We'll watch it after the recording. So Jake, what is your score for this album? Your favorite and least favorite song on this?
I would say I didn't think of it right. Damn. I'm gonna go a 9.4 out of 10. I am a big fan of this album. I know everyone's not gonna agree with me. That's fine. It's just, I think, a super underrated Madonna album. It's one that, it was big at the time, but not really one talked about today. But Ray of Light's the big one to come out of it, and I love that song so much. My favorite song is probably Drowned World / Substitute for Love. I think it opens great, and I really love the way it sets the rest of the album. I'm going to say that's my favorite, and then my least favorite would probably be Nothing Really Matters. I think that's probably the one I'm the least strongest about. I do like Little Sun. Mergirl I'm not huge on, but I don't think it's the worst one. So yeah, that's what I'll say.
Yeah, Mergirl was not the song to end this album on. So Brooklyn. 3 out of 10. Listen to Nothing Really Matters, Sky is Heaven, and Swim. Skip everything else.
That's crazy.
So he, for some reason, he says, okay, so his favorite song is Sky Fits Heaven, a continuation of the drive from Nothing Really Matters. Like how the piano comes in during the chorus and then immediately followed by that drum fill. His least favorite is Candy Perfume Girl. Like the drum kit, but lyrically it gets old quick. So I have, I wrote this down as a lower score, but I'm going to be a little bit nicer because I talked myself into being a little bit nicer. I am going to give this a 6, solid 6 out of 10. There is enough good elements to it that make me say that it's not necessarily a bad album. And I would even say that it's adventurous enough that I would say that I respect this album. But it's not what I'm really going to be coming back to a lot. My least favorite song is Shanti. Girl, no. My favorite song, though, is The Power of Goodbye. Really good production. Lyrics that were like just good enough that it didn't have to be like the star of the show, but it really does carry an emotional weight to it. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. Let's go to Rue next.
I'm giving this one a 4. It at least, you said it. It at least has a sound. She went for something, and again, there was, by the time I was out of it, there was enough songs to surprisingly bring me back a little bit. That it's not a like complete, like I'm not going to completely shit on it, even though I shit on it pretty hard. But this one is not for me. The second we're done with this, it is gone from my phone. Sorry. Yeah, it's not going to be the only one though. Not going to be the only one.
No. Oh no.
It's one of two. We'll see what happens.
I know exactly. And you know what?
My favorite song is what I wish the rest of the album sounded like, and it hit a little bit kind of like Ray of Light and what I was expecting. And it's To Have and Not to Hold. It was that, like, I know you're going through something spiritual, but you're not the middle-aged white woman trying to take somebody else's culture and put it into yours and act like it was. That's what I felt. I'm sorry. That's what I felt. Kind of reminds me a different culture, but it reminds me of the white woman in South Africa with the braids doing all the dances, and the black people around them are looking at her like, what the fuck are you doing? That's what I felt a lot, unfortunately. My least favorite has all of that and then dumps EDM on top of it, and it's Skin. And I was like, hell no. No. So, yeah. There you go. Sorry, Jake. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you loved it.
All right, Adelaide, put a bow on this.
So I was going to say this is worse than Kangaroo Jack. And then I looked at my Letterboxd review of Kangaroo Jack, and I saw it was 1 star. And I realized I can't say this is worth Kangaroo Jack if I don't give it at least an eco rating, so it's a 2. This is like if you fill a sandwich with no like texture. It's just stodge. I just feel like I'm getting assaulted with wet like puff. It is an wholly unpleasant experience other than Ray of Light. And the worst song is any one of the last 3. Genuinely, I could have.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Nothing. I could not give a single discerning piece of information about any of the last 3 songs.
That's because you were doing an all-nighter to having to not.
No. I did that shit fucking 2 hours ago. It just happened. Gone.
Hold on. To Have and Not to Hold is one of the last 3 songs.
Yeah,
it's a good song.
What's going on?
The third last, yeah.
It's a good song. I
don't remember what the fuck it was. It might be I was lulled into like a dreamlike state from the rest of the album.
Maybe.
All right, Adelaide. Well, that does lead us into you. So tell us about Sawayama, or as the title would say Sawayama because it's all capital letters.
Thank you. I hope you woke up your neighbors. This is from Rina Sawayama. Y'all might know her as one of the supporting actresses from John Wick Chapter 4. Fucking great actor. No, that is a true statement.
No, I know.
She kicks ass.
Honestly, I didn't know who she was until
she did an original song for it that also slaps. This is her debut album. I think it's one of the best albums of the decade at minimum. I think it is this great blend of pop and rock, and she has inspiration from fucking nu metal as well. It's a wild mash of tones, and I think it actually works amazingly. I would say that there's no skips in here. I know I shit on interludes before, but I think it works here because it like combines a lot of the sound from the other songs before, and I think it like builds, it crescends. I think the reason that this works, it is such a dynamic listen. It's not just like, oh, this song is this song is this song is this. I think everything mixes tones really well, and even in some of the more like extreme directions, like Paradise, which I understand is like not like a very like it's like a harder song to get into. On like the fourth listen, I like it a lot. I think it offers a lot to really dive into. I think a lot of people can get different, like no matter what kind of genre of music you listen to, I think there's something to gain from this album. I think that it opened on a incredible run from Dynasty, XS, STFU, Comme des Garçons, and Akasaka Sad. Is an amazing series of songs. I love this to fucking pieces. I don't think her second album is quite as good, but this is one of my go-to, like, hey, this is music that I don't like, not like the most mainstream of shit. I will push this to someone and say, this is like everything that I could listen to in one artist. And I've never heard a bad thing about it. So I'm looking forward to Bar shitting on this.
Okay, so real quick. I should have asked this for the last one, but I think I knew the answer, so I think I just like skipped over that. Has anyone listened to this album before? Okay. I have. I like Rina Sawayama. I think that she is a good for pop music. The first half of this album, the production is not great. I think that her voice is placed so back in the mix that sometimes the instrumentation kind of layers her and takes away her personality in the song. The only one being an exception is XS.
Sorry, I had to check this real quick. In the era of DJ Vlad inputting his white voice into Not Like Us and Kendrick Lamar about the mix, and you're bringing up the fucking mix? Dude, what are you doing? Anyway, go ahead.
Whatever. I said what I said. Dynasty feels like it was written by late 2010s Pink for a self-empowerment movie. A song
I will find where you live. I will sit in your toilet. You'll be haunted for weeks.
It feels like it was written for a movie about a girl who's about to like take on the world.
Evanescence, light, a little bit.
She was inspired by Evanescence, so I will give respect to that.
Oh no, I respect that. Like I like Evanescence actually. Like they seem like a band that I would hate, but I actually really like Evanescence. And then we get to, oddly enough, Paradise, and where I think the production finally starts to click into place. I like that song. That's actually really, really good. And then the second half of this album eclipses the first half of the album, I think. I think the second half of this album is stronger than the first half, personally. Now, not to say that the first half is bad. I think the first half is a little bit more experimental than the second half. When you have songs like Akasaka Sad and Comme des Garçons. But you get songs like Bad Friend, Who's Gonna Save You Now, Chosen Family, Tokyo Love Hotel. Like, those are the 4 songs that I think might be the strongest on the album. So I think that it's just like a little heavier on the back half for me. But every once in a while, she'll do like a pop trope or like a little pop staple. And it kind of always just like irks me a little bit because it just doesn't feel right coming from her in particular. Like on Chosen Family, for example, there's the I chose you, you chose me. And I'm like, don't give me Barney vibes. You're giving me Barney vibes right now. But yeah, I think this is a very solid pop album. I think it's a little flawed, but it's solid. It's very good.
So yeah, I didn't know anything about the album or the artist until we talked about she's in John Wick Chapter 4. And I also had no idea what the genre, what I was expecting. And then with any album on this that I wasn't familiar with, I was like, I'll just go in blind and just see how I feel about it. But it pretty much got me. Like, I was into the album from the first track. Like Dynasty just like got everything for me into motion of just like what to expect, but also just what sound I'm expecting. And I really love just how it fucks. Is probably how I would describe it. Like it goes. It's an album with tracks that go really hard.
Let's do that.
And I think, well, yeah, but I think just Dynasty just set up everything to be like, oh, okay, this is what I'm expecting, and I really like how it really goes for it. And yeah, I wasn't even like super familiar with some of the I don't want to say the tracks, but it just I just think it had some really good experimentation. I think is what you said, Bar. I'm just like the way it uses different instruments. But I think Dynasty just made me go, oh yeah, like I was just nodding my head up and down, just like, yeah, this is if the rest of the album is like this, then I'm like pretty much on it. And there were definitely a couple of tracks that really got me like, and as it got me into it even more when it evolves. Like I think Bad Friend is up there for me. It's like that one I thought was really good as well. So yeah, no, I'm definitely more positive on this album than you are. But,
I'm still positive on the album.
You're more negative. You're more critical about it.
Look, the best thing that I can say about this album is that there was no mistaking who made this album. Like, if you played one of these songs for me and I had never heard the album in full before, I would be like, that's Rina Sawayama. Like, to all of the listeners, if you haven't heard Rina Sawayama's cover of Enter Sandman, that thing rips. Like, that should not work as well as it does, but it is fantastic. So I like it. Okay, Rue, help me out here. Like,
so I first heard Rina when Spence put Tokyo Love Hotel. At least I think you did on the Music League we were in. So I knew that song before that. And then I immediately knew she was from John Wick Chapter 4. But while I was listening to the album, I was like, that's Evanescence. That's Justin Timberlake. That's Ellie Goulding. That's Pink. It's a little bit of Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco. And then I was like, she has New Jack Swinging here. And I fucking loved it. I loved it. Every single bit of this album fucking rocks. I was in it. Like I'm sorry. It's usually when you make yourself sound like so many other different artists, you don't sound like your own. Every single one of this song sounds like hers. But she puts enough of herself into each of these genres that it just fits and it fits together. When Love Me for Me came in and I was like, did Teddy Riley produce this shit? Where is the New Jack Swing coming from? I was coming off of Shut the Fuck Up and then Akasaka Sad being just so different and weird. I think there was only one song here that I don't remember. And I'll just say it now. Snakeskin. Snakeskin is my least favorite. And because I ran through it twice and that was the only one either through the production of what it sounded like and what it reminded me of, or the lyrics. If the production wasn't as great, the lyrics really brought me in. Like, I loved what she was talking about in Chosen Family. Like, because I know what like I have my blood family is beautiful, but I also have a lot of beautiful chosen family on top of that. So I really dug this album. I really dug how unique she is, which is weird because again, she sounds like so many other people on this album, and the production sounds like so many other people, but it's still very unique to her. So I thought it was dope. I was rocking with it pretty damn hard.
Well, I guess I know what other album is going to be.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts before we wrap this one up?
I want to shout out. Oh, did you go, Adelaide?
No.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I really like Who's Gonna Save You Now. There's like a live performance as to that song that I thought was really interesting. I was just like, is this the live version? But no, I really like how that's implemented into that track. Yeah, definitely one of my faves.
I will say, I had a friend who saw her live, like 6 months ago now, I think. And it's the kind of thing where, like part of it, it's like the album's like, oh, anyone can go. Like, there's a music for everybody. It was like at one moment, like a big, like fucking like flashes on your phone up, like big emotional moment, and then a fucking mosh pit the next song. Like it is aggressively all over the place in the best way possible. It's not like the Speed Racer of music, but it's in the way like I think it can truly be so eclectic. But every single like part of the journey continues to work, no matter what kind of fucking crazy thing she is. And I'll transition to the last bit. My favorite song is "Shut the Fuck Up" because it balances heavy metal and fucking Cheetah Girls. Who can do that? Who can fucking get away with that and make it be one of my favorite pop songs, whatever, of all time? Like, it is an incredible piece of work. And then Rue is right. Snakeskin is like largely forgettable. Even the interlude, I think, is like sort of okay. Snakeskin is good, but I think most other pop artists would still be happy to make that song. Nothing anyone is making today sounds like the rest of Sawayama. Hold the Girl is good, but this is her opus.
Okay.
I'm like casting a shithead in 1 second.
Okay, I'll just quickly go over some of Brooklyn's notes, and then we'll wrap it up, get scores and songs and all that. So Brooklyn brought up something that a lot of other people brought up with Dynasty. Reminds me of Evanescence. XS. Sorry, Jake. Already more going on in the album than Ray of Light. Let's see. Paradise and that sax solo leading into the key changed hearts. Just nothing but hearts. This is what I imagine Taylor Swift would sound like if she tried to do K-pop, which...
Is that a compliment?
I don't know, honestly. He said Bad Friend reminds him of the Chainsmokers, which I think he's on crack.
Yeah,
that feels rude a little bit.
It kind of does.
Opening night cameo. Wow.
He's being an asshole. He wants a fucking treat. Give me a minute.
Okay, so normally we would have the person who brought the album do all of their stuff first.
I'm still here. I'm just gonna deal with a loud cat.
Okay, give us a score, your favorite, least favorite song. I think you already kind of did, but still.
Yeah, this is a 9.8 out of 10. I have like small issues, but I think that it's hard to. I think if this doesn't go down as one of like the greatest debut albums of all time, I'm gonna be a little bit sick. Best is Shut the Fuck Up. Worst is Snakeskin.
Okay. I'm going to go with Brooklyn's score next. Brooklyn says 7 out of 10. Great first half, but wish the second half was just as adventurous. Kind of get it. I kind of get it. Favorite song, Bad Friend. I like the effect in her voice, the most modern sounding of anything on the record. And least favorite was Akasaka Sad. He likes the drum beat, did not like how wet the synth sounds at times. Which
What the fuck, Brooklyn?
Okay. I know. Yeah. I honestly, I got kind of sick reading that.
Moist.
Yeah, I would have preferred he said that. No, wet.
Jake, let's go to you next.
I think I'm gonna give it an 8.5 An 8.5. Let's say an 8.5. I really like the album. There's some really great tracks that I really just enjoyed, and I think not to spoil the other albums, but I think this is the only album where I was like, I want to listen to that track again because I was like really into it. And that track is Dynasty, my favorite of the album. I think it just opens well and it gets me into a good mood. But also shout out Bad Friend because I think that's also a really good one as well. I would have to say my least favorite, and it's just the one that I had like the least to really think about, is Fuck This World, the interlude. And that's mainly just because it's the one I barely really remember. I think a lot of the other tracks are very good, but that's the one that feels a little bit like I've heard this sort of sound before.
Real quick before we go to Rue, I think Brooklyn may have made a mistake. I don't know what happened. He picked 2 least favorites.
Oh, okay.
He might have.
He also picked Snakeskin. She's been doing this rap style a few times now, and it's just not my jam. But like that's also the one I think Rue had picked as their least favorite. So
yeah, Snakes In again. It's the only one I don't remember. I'd have to play it now to remember what it sounded like. The rest of them, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I actually had difficulty picking my favorite just because I really like this album. I'm giving it an 8.5. I definitely like this album a lot. I'm gonna give a shout out to Love Me For Me. Again, just the surprise of hearing a New Jack Swing. I've said it like 5 times, but hearing a New Jack Swing song in the middle of this album was crazy. But my favorite is Excess. Sounds like I Love You from JT. And the second I heard that the drums, I was like, sounds like Pharrell and Chad Hugo made this beat, and I love it.
It does sound like an NERD song.
It does a lot, but it sounds very similar to me. Again, I heard that and I was like, "Where's Pusha T and Malice for the verse from Like I Love You?" That is the song I'm listening to right now, and I enjoyed it.
And for me, it is a 7.5. It is a really good album. I want to stress this. It is a really good album. I think it's just got a few production issues that kind of hold it back a little bit. Specifically on Akasaka Sad. I think that it's just a little cluttered. Like, it's not bad. I think it's just like a little bit cluttered. That's all. And my favorite song is Bad Friend. I think that there's just such an emotional depth to that song that it's hard not to listen to it and kind of like get the feeling of like looking back on some of your friendships. However, Who's Gonna Save You Now was a very close second. I really dug that song a lot. So with that being said, let's move on to my album, which is Real by Lydia Loveless. So back when we were still doing the set list with Brooklyn, I made the bold claim that this was my favorite album of the 2010s. I don't necessarily stand by that now, but it's still an album that I really, really love. I think Lydia Loveless, I think that they are a really talented songwriter. I think lyrically, I think that's their strength. Especially on songs like the deep emotional struggle of Heaven. I love the kind of cheeky playfulness of songs like European. I think that Out on Love is such a unique sounding song. I just kind of really dug the interesting looping and that bass line in there. And like her emotional performance on that, like especially towards the end when she's just kind of like wailing. I just think that it really clicks, it really connects. Do I think that this album is perfect? I wouldn't say that. I think that there are some low points, but I think that Lydia Loveless, I think they just are raw. There's a rawness to them that really comes across strong, especially as I said, in their songwriting and their lyricism. But I want to hear everyone else's thoughts on this because I'm getting a little nervous.
I've not heard this before. Just because.
Oh, has anyone heard this before? No. What a shock.
No, I'm gonna just get this out the way now. Bar, you just happen to hit a genre that I really am not into, and with a voice that I did not care for. That
And I'm
is
going to
the
be
reason.
honest, I'm not shocked.
Yeah, I if I'm listening to country or I'm listening to alternative country, your voice better be something that stands out to me, or I am going to gloss eye over the fuck out of this album, and that's what I did. When it was over, I was like, "Oh, good. What did I listen? I don't remember a thing here." That's really what I got. I can't tell you that it's bad or good. It's just it is the epitome of not me and not something that I'm interested in listening to or ever like have even grown to like more as I listen to more music. This is just a genre that is.
So I'm not gonna lie, Rue. I think the main reason that I picked this particular album was one particular song. And I thought that there was one song on this album because I kind of felt like that would be what your feelings were on this. I thought that there was one song on that album that would be a saving grace, though.
I'll do this now. I'll tell you my favorite song is that I remember, and it was Heaven.
That's the one.
It was Heaven. The beat was different. Her voice sounds a little bit better, at least more. It stands out more. And I was like, "Ooh, what is this? This does not sound like random Taylor Swift shit right now." Cool.
Oh, whoa!
Thank you for saying that. Thank you
for
saying that. That's exactly.
Yeah, I'm also not a Taylor Swift fan. Because of that, it all sounds the same and similar and just surface level shit that I don't connect with, and I don't dig with it. So yeah, Heaven was like, yeah, something different than the guitar that's just going.
I am like 30% a Taylor Swift fan, not all the way there anymore. That being said, I do enjoy this sometimes because when it is like pop leaning, that's good. I like their songwriting ability. I think the lyrics are fairly strong. And then when it leads country, I'm like, I want to skip this. And that's just me. I don't really like country. I'm shocked Brooklyn didn't submit this. I didn't check them when I was listening to the album. I assumed this was a Brooklyn pick. It's good. I think I'll echo the sentiment. Heaven is the best song here. I think it's layered. I think it sounds well. I think Lydia sounds fantastic. The song, and I also don't have the best notes on it because I was listening to it while I was driving. I think that overall, I think that it's not a consistent sound, but because it's like swaying so much back and forth, it does blend a little bit. I'm actually more curious to hear like their other albums. If they are like Taylor and evolve away from the country, I'm more interested.
See,
because the pop songs. Go ahead.
Lydia is kind of an artist who I don't want to say that they're completely different on every album, but there is enough of a difference between each album that it's not like listening to the same album over and over again. Like the one that I think most people know from Lydia Levis is called The Indestructible Machine, which is more garage country rock.
Is that before or after this one?
That was before this one.
So she is doing the Taylor thing. So up next is like full like the red. Red's gonna fucking pop off.
It's very
Jake Gyllenhaal comes in.
It's mostly singer-songwriter, like kind of like dirty.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I think that there's a lot of talent here. I could see someone being just like, okay, I'll like invest a little bit into you, come to the record label, and we can like develop a more thorough sound. I just don't love what's here, but I do like it enough.
So, yeah, I kind of have echo the sentiments of Armory. I am not a fan, really, of country and pop and that sort of blend, that Taylor Swift-esque sort of sound.
Actually, you're all comparing.
Sorry, it's the first takeaway I had when I listened to Saying to You. I was just like, I'm getting. This is going to be a Taylor Swift album, and I'm just like, in ways that I'm not a fan of. And I'm sorry, but I did not really like this album. It all just sounded the same, and I didn't really get a voice from it. There's a couple of tracks that I thought were better than others. I think Heaven's a good one. I kind of like Clumps. I think that one's not too bad, but the rest, I just and maybe Midwestern guys. I think that one had a little bit more going on to it, but I'm not a fan of this. Really, it's just not my type of not the type of music I really go for. I mean, it's nice that I got to listen to it, like, you know, and I will take that. I'll take anything that I get out of, but it's just not one that really had me wanting to keep listening and be like, I'm getting into it. And, you know, some good songs, but that's far and few between, in my opinion. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm really not surprised that this is the reception from this particular group. I kind of wanted to just pick something a little different than the collective, because I thought this one was a little bit. No, that's just the best way. Different than what the rest of the albums were. I still love this album. I think you brought up Midwestern Guys. I think Midwestern Guys is one of the highlights on the album, personally, because there's just a sneer in that song that I just really like. She's got such a distaste for this guy, but she like keeps him around. Especially that line. I think it was like, you want to make love, you want to make love, not fuck. Like really like deep lines like that. But yeah, I was hoping that Heaven and Out on Love would kind of be the two interesting songs that people kind of were like, at least there's this. And I think Real, the closing song, I just think that that's such an emotional song. I think that's maybe her deepest song lyrically on the album, aside from Heaven. But I'm gonna wrap this up unless anyone has any last thoughts.
No, I don't. I was going to talk about one of the songs, but that's my favorite song, so I'd rather just save it for that.
Okay. So just real quick thoughts on Brooklyn. He says, let's see here. He says, Midwestern Guys, if you have one song to sell this album to someone, it's this one. I guess I agree. I guess that's the most cumulative of the songs on the album. And then okay. He says for Bilbao, I'm conflicted with this one. On the one hand, it's their best vocal work, but I also don't like how they slur "marry me." The words "marry me." It is kind
What
of.
did Jennifer Lopez do to this? Thank you, Jake.
No one remembers that movie except for me and you.
What do you mean? There's a whole song. Do I do it?
Well, I guess I gotta bring up this movie again.
Ultimate airplane movie.
I also probably should watch it because it's a comic book movie apparently, and it's going to be asked at some point.
Okay.
Because my age beautifully.
So I know that I'm going to be the lone person who does this, but for me, this album is a 9 out of 10.
And your shit on Sawayama. Oh, fucking.
I like the grittiness to it. As I said, the emotional depth that Lydia brings to their performance on this. And lyrically, I think that it's just really, really grounded and really, really well done. My favorite song is Heaven. I personally, and I know that not everyone's going to agree with me on this, but I personally think that Heaven is one of the best songs of the 2010s. It's definitely one of my favorites. Because that bass line and those drums, look, I got Track Lab, and I'm trying to figure out how to make that opening, just like the drums and the bass, into like a sample loop. Because I think that it's just so unique and so interesting. And then just the lyrical complexity of just like struggling with your faith and your religion. I think it's just really well told. My least favorite is probably More Than Ever. It's the one that kind of feels the most stale is not the word, but it's kind of bland. Um, it's not bad. It's just kind of very traditional in a bad way. But yeah, that's me. Brooklyn gave it an 8 out of 10. He says, add this to the list of people that Barr has recommended that would probably be incredible live, which I have seen Lydia Lovelace live. And it was just them. And they were incredible. So let's go to Jake next.
Um,
And remember, I was the
Hamilton.
only one who gave a positive score to your album.
What was it, like 5 or something?
6.
6? I'm giving it a 4.8. I'm sorry. A 4.8. Yeah, a lot of it was main just the same. I couldn't really pick apart one thing that made me go, oh, this is above the rest of it. I think Heaven's a good song, but I would have to say I was just re-listening to it. I think Real would probably be my favorite from the album. I think that's a great way to end the album. It's a good song. My least favorite is probably More Than Ever, because that's just the one that sounded like a Taylor Swift circa 2011, 2012. And I was just like,
that's the one song I can kind of agree.
that's the one where it just felt like the most Taylor Swifty, and I was just like, yeah, no thanks. But yeah, so that's my thoughts. I'm sorry. When it comes to post 2015 music, I'm like just unfamiliar with most albums or most artists. So when it comes to sounds where I'm just like, this sounds like nothing to me, it's something that comes post 2015.
I should have got her like country punk era. I should have got her.
Right, like a Shania Twain.
That'd been fun.
Adelaide, let's go to you.
I'm gonna give it a 6.8. I would still call it a low 3.5, not a 3.
Okay.
I do think there's good stuff there. I think it hits my genre of music, of like Julian Baker or Ethel Cain, where it's more like singer-songwriter based than anything else, and it's not something that I can like really attach myself to. I can recognize that they are a talented singer, great lyricist, not for me. I understand why you love it, but the last album did fucking Evanescence, the Cheetah Girls, and like, what do you do, Jackson? What do you want from me?
You are so lucky that you gave this a positive score, because I had my finger over the mute button for you at that end.
Also talking about strawberries and cream.
Okay. Okay, Rue, shoot me. Shoot me in the back.
Did you say your favorite and least favorite songs?
Least favorite, favorite is Heaven. Least favorite, I said it before. I tried to look it up and I didn't find it in time. One of the songs, like what is it's when she sings country, not great. Anything that
one of the
like
country ones.
Exactly, yes. Country bad.
Okay, Rue should take me out back to the shed.
Actually, it's not going to be that bad. I'm giving it a 5.
Okay,
like,
I'll take that.
I'm giving it a 5 because I cannot honestly say it's bad. It's more of my taste, and it's bland, but it wasn't something that I was utterly like not wanting to listen to at all. I just was something that I was like, I don't remember this after 40 minutes. I remembered Heaven because it was one that turned my head, and I remembered Midwestern Guys because I hated that shit. God. Just Midwestern guys, shut up. Just no, go. Just get on with this. Like, that was the worst her voice sounded. And I was just like, no. Please, I don't want to listen to this anymore. Too repetitive, I couldn't do it. But other than that, it's just an album I don't listen to. So like, but I couldn't say it was bad. But I also couldn't say it was good.
Okay. I'm not, I can't be too disappointed. I'm not shocked by the results here. This actually kind of went almost exactly how I thought. So that does bring us to our final album of the night, though. Amaru, tell us about B.
All right, so there's certain hip hop albums that have the benefit of, if you play one song, it's great, but if you just play the album, it's also great. But a lot of hip hop albums you can shuffle in any order. Good Kid, Mad City is a concept album that you got to play front to back. It is amazing. B is the first album I remember where any song you hit play, it is one of Common's best, and it is a damn good song. But front to back, it goes so damn well as a singular piece of music. I think that this is Kanye. This is Kanye West at his best. Now, this might not be one particularly like his single best production, but the fact that him and Jay Dilla came together and just made this extremely beautiful, cohesive album that, like, as much as you are in Compton in in Good Kid, Mad City, I had just left the South Side of Chicago maybe 4 years before this album came out, and I was right back to being in the damn Windy City, listening to B. Starting off with B and doom, doom, and you know you're about to get the jazziest of jazziest shit. And the one thing about Common, he has a tendency to go off beat, and it kind of throws you out of things. But the way he slides on B and then continues from then on, it's the best he sounded. It is the most comfortable he sounded. Going from that to the corner with the last poets and Gil Scott Heron with his great spoken word, and like, I would say the corner might be the one song that sounds the most out of place, but it's the perfect introduction after the smoothness of B to tell you what you're about to get into. You're getting into the cold of the South Side of Chicago. You're getting into the soul of it. You're getting into the jazziness of it. Then you move into the love section with Go, which everybody, if you know what Go is about, it's a beautiful thing. I'll just say leave it at that. Going from Go, which is sexy as hell, to Faithful, Bilal and John Legend singing, especially at the end of Faithful, is just beautiful. And some of the lyrics in that Common talks about in terms of the difficulties of relationship and men being men. I laughed the first time I heard she asked, why do men always have to stray? He said, I'm bad. Not as bad as Eric Benet. And I had to pause it and be like, who in the world cheats on Holly Berry? Why would men do that? Come on, son. To then Testify, where if you have seen the music video of Taraji P. Henson, when that turn happens at the end of Testify, and in that courtroom, you figure out she did that shit. It is great. Then the next section is like, just you are in the middle of the city. You are on a ride, and you feel the soul of it. Love is Shy City, having the performance from the Chappelle Show for the food. Not you. That is just, it makes you feel like this is a hip hop album that you that took just everything he had and everything he is, and he put it out there. Going into Real People, it's like you're at a family barbecue with just everybody you love. And then I'm just gonna put this out there now. They Say is my absolute favorite song of this album. It is a song that there are certain songs that make me think I can sing. And when John Legend hits that chorus, he is so damn smooth on that chorus. And I think I can sing so well when I'm singing along. It's just Kanye, again, another bar that he said that I was just like, yes, God don't ever give me nothing I can't handle. So please don't ever give me records I can't sample. Like, that is Kanye. It to a T. And I absolutely love it. Finishing off with It's Your World, just knowing it's an outro, smoothing it out, having all the kids at the end. I love this album because, again, I can play any one song and know exactly what album it's from and absolutely love it. And then when I'm done listening to that song, I'm like, well, I got to take the next 45 minutes. I got to listen to this running back again, because that's how it's a work. It is a complete work. And there's not many hip hop albums since 2000 that are a complete work that you have to listen to from front to back. I love this album. It's a top 10 album, hip hop album of all time for me, probably top 5.
Okay. I'll start.
Has anybody heard this album before?
Yeah, I was about to say. Has anyone
read your show for you?
Okay. So I've not heard this album all the way through, but I definitely heard bits and pieces of this album. and I've always really liked it. This is kind of like half of this album. Like you can kind of tell which ones are Dilla and which ones are Kanye. Because I've become over the last couple of months at least a real big fan of J Dilla. I just listened to, I think it was like called Donuts, and oh my god, so good. But yeah, this is just a really great album. I love it. And I think the thing that I love the most about this album is just Common. It's Common himself. I just love his voice. His voice is so good. It's got that deep, almost kind of like buttery, rich baritone that is just so good. And his flow is really nice. Every once in a while, it kind of like slides off the beat, but it's done in a way that just really works.
Yeah, in the past, if you've heard Common out songs, he's one of the best lyricists. Like he's top tier lyricist, but he would get so offbeat. You're like, dude, I can't listen to this because you are so offbeat. And again, this is the one where he when he does it, it's like, okay, this is Common, but I'm used to it, and it sounds so much smoother than a lot of the other things he's done.
Mm-hmm. Funny story. I think Go has the shortest guest verse of all time, and it's just John Mayer going "Go." I legit.
By the way, goes about threesomes. If you didn't like know that, that's what goes about.
Yeah. Well, okay, wait. So Common, Kanye, John Mayer. Who's like the total bottom there?
Definitely Kanye.
It's definitely John. Are you kidding me?
He doesn't think that, but when it comes to the situation, he definitely is.
I love some of the production on this. The corner, I think, is just so good. I don't know. So with It's Your World Part 1 and 2, that one was kind of like slowly starting to fade into my least favorite of the track. And not that it was bad. It was just kind of like slowly starting to become that for me. And then the part with all the kids popped up, and you cannot tell me that you listened to that part and not get a little like teary-eyed, or like that your chest doesn't like clench up a little bit. Because if you tell me that, I'm gonna say to your face that you have no heart. Like,
what if I said The World Part 2 was like one of the worst songs on the album?
the song itself or the children's part? Like, because
this song itself.
Okay, then yeah, go fine. That's fine. I do really like Shy City. I think that one.
Shy City.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant to say that, and I just fucked up.
I'm here to help you, Bar. It's okay.
I appreciate you because I need you right now. Don't let me go. There's one in particular where the production, I just love it so much. I'm not going to get into it right now because it is my favorite song, and I'm going to wait. But oh my god, the sample used in that is just so good, and it's so effective. This album is incredible. It really.
When it comes to you before you go, I want to take a guess at what it is.
Okay.
I might be wrong, but I like based off what you said, I have a guess.
I think also if you know me and my tastes, you should know which one. Adelaide, Jake.
So I've got a couple of things I want to say first. Who is the artist behind this album?
Common.
Incorrect, my friend. Academy Award winner Common.
Academy Award winner Common. Yes.
Oscar winner Common. We have to.
For Suicide Squad, right?
Absolutely. One scene. Pusha T, whatever his name is, Killer T, Monster T.
Monster T.
Oh, you're the fandom player.
Monster T. Yeah.
Monster T. Second thing. And I only realized this is when we started talking about this album, but we've picked two albums from people who appeared in the John Wick franchise.
Yes, we have.
That's weird. Yeah,
that was in general, but that is I really
If
like
Michael Nyquist drops
Yeah,
like
Michael-
a William Shatner-esque album, we're reviewing it.
He's dead.
He passed
unfortunately.
away, so that's not gonna happen. But yeah,
Michael
Preaching
Jackson
the
is still releasing singles. There's a chance.
I think Tupac just released another album last week or something.
Prince, he's got like 500 songs that he's still got in his vault. They come out every now and
Exactly.
then. I will just fully admit, like 2000s rap specifically, not an era that I'm like huge and big on. That is just like definitely not something that I was listening to as a, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old. And generally upon listening to it after the fact, it all just doesn't really have much of a voice. But to give this album credit, and I don't want to give Kanye credit, but he really knows how to make a nice sound. Like he really is a good producer when it comes to this sort of aspect of his music career.
it's College Dropout was 2004, 2005. This was 2004, and Late Registration 2006. And those albums musically are fucking amazing.
When he is like the quote unquote underdog, or like him rising up, like I see him with more of a voice. I don't really see that post, I don't know, Dark Twisted Fantasy or whatever, and that's not really my type of fan of. But with this album, I think it's got really good just sounds, and I don't know what it is about it, but like just certain songs, like I really think Go is a highlight. I think it opens extremely well with B. I really love Testify. I don't know why, but that's the one that really stuck out to me. Do you know who did the female vocals on that one? Because that really connected, and I really, really liked how that was.
I'm pretty sure that's a sample from something. I just don't know what it is. A sample.
That's
I'll look it up right now.
I like that. What's it's Chi City? I don't want to get it wrong.
Shy City, because it's Chicago, but they call it Shy City or Chi Town.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So it's
You
more of
can
a
tell
S sound than a C sound.
Get a Jake at Chi-Town.
Yeah, Shy City. I thought was also a good one.
Darian Brockington. That's the person that's sampled.
Oh, okay, interesting. I like that. Shy City, I think is a really good one. The food, I was surprised by the. So I was surprised by the food because a live performance I'm generally not like into, but I really like how that sort of plays out, and also that sort of transitions into real people as well.
Yeah, the funny thing about that, like I mentioned, it is literally like I don't think the album is out yet, but that was the literal performance on at the end of the Dave Chappelle episode.
Wow, that's cool.
And like it was him. Mos Def was just there because he was there. But it was the end of the Chappelle episode. So when I heard the album, I was like, "Oh, this is the actual performance from the Chappelle show."
That's cool. No, but there's really good stuff, and like Common, I like pre-date night. I didn't know anything about him and what he like. I didn't even know he was a real like a musician. I just knew him as like he shows up in Date Night and Selma, and then he wins the Oscar for that. Like that's generally I knew him as an actor first, but like hearing back, I'm like, how good is this guy at that? And it turns out he's actually very good, and I really like his. I like this album a lot more than I thought I would. And there's some really good bangers on this one that I will definitely be listening to again and again.
And quick correction on my part before we go to Adelaide, I got the name wrong. The sample is by a group called Honey Cone from the 70s.
Cool.
Adelaide.
I think Rue has this magical ability. Whenever we're doing something together, he picks rap that notoriously, I don't like the genre, I can't get into it. He opens fantastic fucking doors. This was a great album. I'm not going to say that it's like perfect. Obviously, there's songs that I'm not going to connect to as much. We'll get into it. I already said the World Part. It's the World Part 2. Not the best, but it's sort of going to happen because we can like keep bringing it up. It is sort of like an interlude. It is really just like, oh, hey, here's like non-music-ish, whatever. Is your World Part 1? I do enjoy. I think that it's a really dense album in the best way possible. I took the most notes on this. I think Go, fantastic, like beat, like the music behind it is really fucking awesome. Faithful is great. Real People is great music. And then I'm just sitting there, okay, Kanye. And then John Legend starts singing. And my soul leaves my body. I'm not wholly like sold on him as an individual musician because all I fucking know is like All of You, and he sounds like if Apple commercial music was a person. But oh my god, his voice is amazing. I think you're absolutely right that this is an album that if you put it on, keep it on. I'm not going to complain. It's so fucking good. And he has the wonderful way of having like very dynamic songs. I think that he does really good at like balancing, like you said, like connecting it back to his time in Chicago. Like you're there, you're connecting with it. And I think there's a lot of beauty in his lyrics. The Corner is such like an emotional song that I really resonate with. And then Go, fuck yeah, or Jesus, go. Like it's really dynamic.
Threesome.
Really,
Two different things.
someone's holding the camera. Eventually,
Classier.
I just think it is a really good album. I wish I liked the genre more. I want to give so much praise onto it. I think I'm always going to be a little bit behind with rap. I can't like fully like get into it the way I want to. It's not as good as the Lupe fiasco that I've heard, but it's pretty damn good.
I don't mind that because The Cool is the second best hip hop album of all time. And Food and Liquor is 4, which is what the Cool was on. So this is right behind Lupe for me.
Real quick, some thoughts from Brooklyn. I'm just gonna pick and choose some of these. He says, The Corner, the last motherfucking poets. We underrated, we uneducated. He enjoys how the piano closes the loop. He said, I do think Kanye kills any momentum in the choruses with how effect heavy it is. And then Go, Kanye redeems himself immediately. Then let's see here. The Food. Best use of Kanye on the record reminds me of Cream, which okay,
Like
I guess.
the milk?
No. The song
Adelaide-
Cash rules
Adelaide.
everything around me. Please get the money. Dollar bill.
And being
y'all.
white, I'm
Okay.
aware that's the joke.
It's about food, cream, right?
Yeah.
So It's Your World, part 1 and 2. The line he pulled from this one is, it's the black upon each other that we love so much. He says, I understand why they went with the more low brass horn section. He says, but Common has a hard time matching that range. More suited for someone like Biggie or Kendrick. Strong message at the end. Hearing the kids hit you in the feels. So yeah, let's wrap this one up. Rue, give us your score. Give us your favorite song and your least favorite song, if there even is one.
There is the least favorite song. It is It's Your World part 1 and 2, just together as a whole. It's just a little slower, and I said The Corner takes you out, but The Corner is more like the different one that kicks you into the album after the slower B, and then everything else kicks off. It's Your World, you're like, oh, this is when you hear it, it's like, oh, this is the outro. We're not getting any more after this. I know that it sounds different, but I still love it. This is a 10 out of 10 album for me. Perfect. Like, and even for me, even with things I don't like, I still call them perfect because I know their basis. So like, I know why It's Your World is there. I see how it ended. I get it, even though I don't listen to it too much. This is a perfect album for me. My favorite song is They Say. That kick drum or that snare hits right at the beginning, then goes into piano, and then, as you said, John Legend makes you think you can sing. And I fucking love it. And so that is my favorite. But I love this album from front to back.
So I'm going to bring up Brooklyn's score. Brooklyn gave this a 9 out of 10. Brooklyn says, progressively ups the ante in lyrics and production as the record progresses. Rue, tell me what you thought my favorite song was.
I thought your favorite, because you said the sample, was Testify.
And you would be correct. That sample is so fucking good. It just really hits hard. But also just like Common's delivery on this, especially on the line where he goes, that this bitch did the crime. Like, holy hell, that hits so hard. I also just love courtroom songs. Like, any time that like a song that actually takes place in a courtroom and it's done effectively, it automatically just bumps up a level in my mind. My least favorite song, I would. Now I'm going to start by saying that I don't think there's a bad song on the album. I really don't. I was split between It's Your World Part 1 and 2 and Go. I think that they're both really strong. I'm going with It's Your World Part 1 and 2. But as I said, there's not a bad song on this album.
You got to pick your least favorite of all the greatness. So
exactly. It is a 9. You know, I'm going to bump it up just a hair. It's a 9.25 for me. Fantastic hip hop album. I would probably agree. Out of the ones that I've heard, at least, one of the best of the 2000s. Let's go to Adelaide.
How many decimal points do you add before it stops mattering?
Googilian.
Okay.
Oh.
For me, it is a 7.7. Again, not going to be my genre, but I think what's being done here is really great. I think if I understood rap and hip hop more and was able to compare it to bad songs, I could see like, oh shit, this is like miles and miles above what I think it is. I still think it's fantastic. Again, I think The Corner is fucking amazing. One of the better opening songs for a track I've heard in a minute. My least favorite is The Food. Hot take. I like beyond Kanye as a person, I don't like listening to him rap, at least here. I think specifically here, he does not sound good. He doesn't sound like he's holding a strong rhythm. I don't like his voice. It's not connecting. It's just like the content of the song isn't like hit with me. I think in terms of like a message song, I think The Corner works way better. It's Your World, I think part 1 works better. The Food just isn't it for me.
And Jake, wrap this up.
Damn you, Bar. You said everything I wanted to say about Testify, because that's my favorite song of the album. It's so good, and that's one I definitely will be listening to. I don't know if it's a spoiler, but I will just say that's my favorite song from the entire turntable that we've done.
Hey, it might be mine as well.
The one that really connected. I was just like, yeah, this is so like my type of shit. My least favorite, and it's sort of bad on it, but it's the one that plays right after Testify. I love is that's just, I don't know, you go up on the high and then it's just like, and it's not a bad song. I want to make it clear I didn't think the album was bad, but yeah, Love is just, after just really getting to Testify, it sort of just went down. I was just like, yeah, okay, this is good, but I just listened to like the best song in the album. It's bad comparison, but it just wasn't on the same level. As far as the rating goes, I'm going to give it an 8.4. I thought it was excellent, and it makes me want to listen to more rap albums of this era, because I should probably give it a second try.
All right. So with that being said, let's wrap this thing up. From everyone, I want you to give me your favorite album that you listened to for this episode that was not your own. I have Brooklyn's answer. Brooklyn chose B by Common, and I'm going to echo the statement. That one was my favorite of all of the albums that I've listened to today. Let's go to Adelaide.
If we can't pick our own, I feel like it'd be a shitty decision. I'm also going to pick B. I think Real was very good. Crazy Sexy Cool exists in a Ray of Light. I think B was as close to a transcendent experience I can get from rap as a genre. I think it was a fantastic introduction to someone who I only knew was like a mediocre actor.
Hey, he's pretty good.
He's a rapper.
He's a rapper.
Great. He's great.
Rue, let's go to you.
Sawayama. I very much enjoyed the experience. It was the first album I listened to out of all of them, because I was like, all right, I'm gonna listen to mine last, and I'm gonna listen to Crazy Sexy Cool second to last, because I've heard it before. But kicking that off, and I was very, very happy. And again, I ran it back a couple times, then hit random and was like, go. So I enjoyed the shit out of that.
All right, and I want to see if something happens. Jake? What
It was
about you?
definitely Ray of Light. I thought that was excellent. Oh wait, that's my album. Oopsie. No, I echo Amaru. It's Sawayama. I think that's definitely I really like that album. B is a very close second, but those both I thought were excellent albums in their own style and genre. But yeah, definitely Sawayama had some tracks that made me go, yeah, this is music that I like to listen to, and I would like to continue to listen to that type of music.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, people, thank you all for joining us today.
During Pride Month, as of 1 hour ago.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's the 1st of June.
I knew that was going to happen. That's why I tried to course correct. But thank you all for joining us today. We hope to have you back again for future episodes. But with that being said, this episode is running long, but it was a good episode. I think we had a great discussion for each album. But for Adelaide Spence, for Amaru Moses, for Jake Margoni, for Brooklyn Vale, and for myself, Andrew Barr,
Andrew
thank,
Barr, yeah.
thank you.
Just in case you didn't say I would. Yeah.
Keep on rocking.